it's Dr. Dunaway here at Chiro Strength, and today I'm going to be talking about some body maintenance strategies and strengthening strategies for those with Scheuermann's disease. I got this question on my Facebook page, so I wanted to address this in a little longer format. And so I'm going to be using a foam roller, a kettlebell, and a physio ball back there to show you some mobility strategies and strengthening strategies from a standpoint of if you're dealing with any of these issues. So if you didn't know, Scheuermann's disease is a deformity of the thoracic spine where the anterior vertebral body height is less than the posterior. So you have this wedge that occurs with each vertebral body. And if you stack a bunch of these together, you end up getting this hyperkyphosis, so this very prominent thoracic spine that is bent over like this. And so that will give you some issues from a standpoint of mobility in general, and then as well as some strengthening considerations, especially in the overhead position. Now, from a standpoint of the scoliosis, that's usually a curvature in this frontal plane. So you most typically have the curvature of thoracic spine going around the heart. So there's going to be a thoracic curve like this and a lumbar curve like this. So there are some strategies you can put in place to make sure whichever curve you're dealing with, the Scheuermann's or the scoliosis, make sure that curve is at least mobile, and then just some considerations for the strengthening. So we'll start with Scheuermann's disease. So understanding that it's a deformity in the vertebral body, you're not going to correct the overall appearance of this necessarily, but you can make sure that that thoracic curve at least is moving as much as it possibly can. And so to do this, I'm going to get right at the base of that curve, which is usually around the TL junction, and then I'm just going to try and peel my hands over, or peel my back over this foam roller, making sure that I'm doing nice little movements at each segment. So I'm not opening up as much as I can because that might increase symptoms and irritate that area of the spine. But all I'm going to do is just barely open up little by little. And after I do that, I need to consider some things that might irritate other areas of the spine when you have a hyperkyphotic mid-back. So in order to get overhead when you have a hyperkyphosis, what you're going to end up doing is probably extending at the low back to get overhead, or really cranking at the shoulders, which will end up ruining the shoulders and really irritating the neck as well. And so a strategy you can use for your presses specifically is this landmine variation. And this landmine variation has a barbell set up like this, and so as you press, I can press overhead and not get into a position where I'm completely overhead, and so my shoulder and back stay safe. And pressing unilaterally also engages the obliques more, so not only am I getting a good pressing stimulus in my strength training, but I'm also getting some good oblique work as well. And so that's just a consideration to keep in mind for the appearance or for the condition with Scheuermann's disease. Now, from a standpoint of body maintenance with scoliosis, the same concept applies. We're going to try to open up the curve. So we got the convex side here, the concavity side here. We're going to try to open up into the convex side. So we talked about the curve going around the heart. So if I want to open up the thoracic spine, I'm going to get my chest over the middle of a ball or over a couch, the arm of a couch or something like that. And what I'm going to end up doing is trying to open up and get this thoracic spine opened up over a ball like this, just breathing, relaxing, and going about 30 seconds or so there. And then if I have another curve in the lumbar spine, it's typically going to end up being the opposite of thoracic spine. So now I'm going to get my torso or my lumbar spine over this ball, support myself with the arm. You can see my legs are spread, and now I'm going to open up and try to open up that curve. Again, think about this curve being in the spine like this, and we're trying to peel it open like this. Not because it's going to stay there, but because we really want to make sure that curve is at least moving. Now, from a standpoint of that lumbar spine in particular, when we have a scoliotic lumbar spine, what you'll end up seeing is that the QLs on one side will be really short, and the other sides are going to be really opened up. So in order to open up the spine, we showed you how to do that on the physio ball, but then to establish a little more congruency with the tension in the muscles, you can do these unilateral exercises with a kettlebell or kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell, whatever. And so I like doing suitcase deadlifts or walks. And so if I'm doing a suitcase deadlift and I have a scoliosis that has these ribs and this pelvis kind of high on the high side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to target this other side to bring myself a little more over this left hip. So in order to do that, if I pick up a weight, I'm going to have to use this side to close down, and now I'm going to come a little more upright. Again, this isn't going to fix the curve, but it is going to allow you to train one side versus the other. The QLs and everything on this side are really loose, and now I got a lot of good engagement on this side. So if this side had been the long, opened up side and this side the closed down, now I'm kind of training those muscles to work in this position. So I can go from here and do some suitcase deadlifts, or I can end up doing just unilateral balance or single leg deadlift work, or just do walks with this weight in one hand. So although there's just a few techniques and a few tips, the main thing to consider is that most people with either of these issues, when they reach skeletal maturity, there is very little likelihood of these things progressing and these curves getting worse. And so you're a lot less vulnerable than you may think. And a lot of issues you may be dealing with may have nothing to do with the structure of the spine itself. Because like I said, the body is an amazing adaptable structure, and then once you hit skeletal maturity, your body has had more than enough time to learn how to maneuver around these areas. So these are just some warm-ups or some daily maintenances to make sure that you don't get any more complications from that. But not to say that these aches and pains may not be aggravated or brought on by the scoliosis or the Scheuermann's disease, but there's other things that could be at play. So make sure if you have exacerbated symptoms or things that are lasting too long, go check out a professional. You're more than welcome to email me at drdunaway@kairostrength.com. If you have any questions, send me an email, comment below, and like I always say, don't just mend, transcend. Thanks.